Mental health is an integral part of being human. It's as important as medical health, physical health, and all other kinds of health for humans. May is being marked as a mental health month all over the world. And today I have here with me two psychologists, Dr. Motunrayo, who is a consultant psychiatrist, and Dr. Simon, who heads the HumAngle Sanctuary, which is a mental health clinic. Today, they are going to be speaking to us about the difference between psychology and psychiatry and some of the common misconceptions about mental health in Nigeria that people really need to be aware of. My name is Hawa Shafi Inuhu, and I will be piloting this conversation for today. Hi, Dr. Motunrayo. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Could you please give us a very brief introduction, who you are, what you do?
My name is Motunrayo Oyelonwu. I'm a consultant psychiatrist, and I'm a fellow of the West African College of Physicians, Faculty of Psychiatry. I have special interest also in the child and adolescent mental health subspecialty. I also have interest in lifestyle medicine, which I think is also preventive. So in a nutshell, that's me.
You seem very well grounded. We are very excited to have you here. I have a very quick question before we delve into myths around mental health care in Nigeria. And that question is, what is the difference between psychiatry and psychology? I think a lot of times Nigerians mix the two together.
Yes, so very briefly, a psychiatrist is someone who trains as a medical doctor. So the person has a first degree in medicine and surgery. It's the 6 years MBBS, MBCHB, as it's called in some other schools. And then you go on to specialize in mental health, which takes between 4 and 6 years in Nigeria, where you we also do psychology, then you do psychiatry. And at the end of your period, which you call residency training in psychiatry, you become a psychiatrist. So psychology is the study of mental health as well, but psychology is much broader because at the basic level you do psychology, which is basic psychology, but by the time you're going for your master's, you can now specialize, and there are vast area of psychology. They have developmental psychology, managerial psychology, organizational psychology, clinical psychology, forensic psychology, child and adolescent psychology, and so on and so forth. So a psychologist does not study medicine and surgery. So that's the difference. Although we still have some doctors who study psychology, and they can also be psychologists.
Okay, thank you so much for providing that clarification. So let's delve right into it. What are some myths that you have encountered in your line of work about mental health that you think is really important for people to understand?
First, before now, I believe the awareness is much more than it used to be. We would hear people say that Nigerians or Africans don't have mental health issues. But I'm sure that has been busted. Nigerians, Africans, in fact, anybody who is a human being has a mental health and can have a mental health condition. So we all can have mental health illnesses. Another myth is that everyone who has a mental health disorder has the worst form, which is colo, or what they call colo, the psychosis. But mental health is a spectrum. Mental health conditions fall on a spectrum from mild, moderate to severe, and we have different types: depression, anxiety disorders, the psychosis. We have in children neurodevelopmental disorders, some sleep disorders also fall under science and mental health. And so it's so vast, and mental health cuts across from infancy to old age. So that's the second myth. A third myth in Nigeria is once somebody has entered the market, and I'm sure there's an adage in every tribe in this country, once someone with a mental health condition has entered the market, they are not going to, get well, which is also a myth. People do get well. People get well with treatment. Another myth is all people with mental health conditions are violent. And so when people hear that, they run away. They don't even want to get close to people with mental health conditions. That's another myth. Another favorite myth that I like to bust is that young people, children, adolescents don't have mental health issues. But that's another myth. Any human being across can have a mental health condition. Which other common myth do we have? Religion. That mental health conditions are due to demonic and spiritual forces. But we know that just like people can be ill physically, people can also be ill mentally. In fact, when we ask most people, where is your heart? Where is your mind? They say here. But this is the seat of the mind, the brain. So every human being has a brain. If we can have eye problems because we have an eye, if we can have stomach issues because we all have stomachs, if we can have mouth issues because we all have mouth, we have teeth, we can have teeth, dental issues. The same way, because we have a brain and that's the seat of the mind, people can have mental health conditions. So that's another myth that I think people need to.
Thank you so much, Dr. Motunrayo, for providing an overview around these issues. Dr. Simon, I will be coming back to you very soon to hear from you as well about some myths that you think people need to be aware of. I was recently at a mental health panel discussion, and one of the psychologists on the panel said that since COVID, there has been some sort of boost in awareness and a more accepting nature from the society about mental health issues. Because when people started to get isolated for long periods of time, they started to realize that it's actually possible to run mad because you've been isolated from people. And I found that very interesting. I was wondering if you could speak more on that. Do you think there has been more awareness and acceptance around mental health issues because of COVID?
Definitely. I think for us, before COVID, the WHO had given, they would give like an overview or look into the future, like a 10-year overview, like, okay, in about 2030, depression would be the second cause or contributor to disability adjustment life years. But it seemed that when COVID came, COVID just sped up everything, accelerated the whole thing. And yes, that's lockdown, people not being able to go out. It's a lot of anxiety. Children, I even have a friend whose child stopped talking because she stopped going to school. She would just smile. So there were so many things. And even in clinics, I go back 2020, what happened? And I found out that we are still seeing those effects in people. So it brought about a lot of self-awareness. It also brought about, the disease itself, the COVID itself caused social, physical, loss of finances, loss of jobs. It brought about a lot of issues that now had impact both directly and indirectly on people's mental health. So yes, it increased awareness amongst people. And I think it also made people to be more accepting that actually mental health is real and that people can actually have mental health conditions.
Thank you so much for providing an overview on that. Dr. Simon, I'm back to you. Thank you once again for joining us. Could you tell us just a bit more about the HumAngle Sanctuary? I had briefly introduced it, but I think you're in the best position to say more about what we do at the organization. And then you can go on to talk about certain myths that you think people need to be aware of that Dr. Motunrayo might not have been able to touch on.
Thank you once again for the opportunity. For me, I would say that HumAngle Sanctuary is actually a sanctuary for mental health. People going through different kind of mental health challenges. We offer them help because we have all the professionals that are actually required to be able to provide solutions to all those mental health challenges, be it depression, anxiety, which are actually the ones on the high rise in the country. Of course, there is a mental health emergency in Nigeria, and as an organization, we saw the need to reach out to be a solution to our immediate environment, Nigeria as a whole, and then the whole world, if need be. So HumAngle Sanctuary sees mental health as a core to every other activity of man. The psychiatrist here mentioned the mind, which is the seat of consciousness. The mind, which is actually like there is recently the World Health Organization, when we're celebrating the Mental Health Day, prioritizing your mental health was the core. So, of course, in a HumAngle Sanctuary, our priority is the mental health of everyone, being it the child, an adult, an aged person. So, about the myths, she has actually done justice to nearly everything. It's just that my own interest is more on the religious part of the myths, because what you believe influences nearly everything you do. And in Nigeria, religion is actually the core. In Nigeria was once, or even now, the most religious country in the world. And at the end of the day, when we see things only from the spiritual perspective and then ignore every other aspect of our health, then of course you will see every illness as being a demonic attack, even physical illness, not just to talk about mental health illness. So when you require medical intervention, you only be giving it spiritual intervention. When it requires mental health intervention, you always give it spiritual intervention. So, of course, we need to realize health in this perspective: physical health, mental health, social health, and of course, the spiritual health. So we must create a balance. So the myths that seem to affect every other aspect of our health, because of the fact that it has to do with our belief system, which drives our lives, actually is from the religious angle. So at the end of the day, all the other aspects of our health, most especially mental health, which for me is the core. The mind is the seat of consciousness. So it tells you that you are a physical being. It tells you are a social being. It tells you are a spiritual being. It also tells you how to manage all those aspects. So at the end of the day, when we allow the myth of religion to affect our perspective to mental health, then every other thing about our lives will be affected. So mental health, for me, as far as I'm concerned, is the core for our existence.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for doing justice to that question. I'm particularly glad that you talk about the religious aspects, because Nigerians are deeply religious people. Yes. So it's refreshing to hear angles around that. At the sanctuary, are there any seemingly modern or unconventional ways you're using to treat mental health?
Very well. In fact, the world seems to be on a trend, like changing. The world seems to be changing, and we need to change along with it. So we talk about virtual reality, artificial intelligence, application of all this to mental health. Like when you talk about deep breathing exercises, virtual reality can actually take you through it, without any challenge. We utilize the power of the media in reaching out and then helping our generation. So that's what stands us out. And we have professionals, in every area of mental health. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. I have one brief question for both of you. This Mental Health Month, what is one thing that you want viewers to take away, starting from you, Dr. Motunraya?
I think it's simple for me. Prioritize your mental health. Manage stress effectively. And if you need help, ask for it. Don't feel bad that you're asking for mental health support. If you have a headache or malaria, you would go treat it. If you have a mental health condition, there's help. Because like you said, mental health seems to be everything. Once the mental health is affected, it would affect every other aspect of one's life, and the quality of life would be poor. So take care of your mental health and seek help when you need it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Motunraya. Dr. Simon?
Straight ahead. At HumAngle, we are open to discussions. When you have any challenge, you can speak out, you can reach out to us, and we are always ready to meet to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. On how you can reach out, you can see it here on the screen. These are some of the channels through which you can reach out to the HumAngle Sanctuary or to generally just seek help. Thank you so much, Dr. Motunrayo and Dr. Simon, for being here with me today. Together, we will continue the work around mental health.